How could the brightest star in heaven's radiant court fall into the abyss of eternal darkness? What force could turn God's most cherished creation, a being of unparalleled beauty and wisdom, into the embodiment of evil? Before time began, before the earth spun its first cycle, the heavens glowed with divine harmony, an endless symphony of light and love. Angels, radiant and pure, sang praises to their Creator, their voices weaving a tapestry of devotion that echoed through the cosmos. Among them stood Lucifer, the morning star, a name meaning light-bringer, whose brilliance outshone all others. Ezekiel 28:12 describes him as the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. He was God's masterpiece, the first being sculpted by divine hands, a creature of such splendor that even angels paused in awe. His intelligence was unparalleled, surpassed only by God himself, and his beauty was a reflection of divine artistry. Anointed as a guardian cherub, Lucifer walked among the fiery stones on God's holy mount, a position of immense honor. His role was sacred, to organize the heavenly choirs, directing their songs of worship with a voice that burned like a flame in the darkness. Even archangels like Michael and Gabriel, mighty in their own right, looked upon Lucifer with awe and admiration. His presence was magnetic, his wisdom a beacon, his charisma a force that drew all of heaven's gaze. Yet within this radiant heart, a shadow stirred, a spark of pride that would ignite a rebellion, shatter heaven's peace, and birth the eternal struggle between good and evil. This is the tale of Lucifer's tragic fall, a story of beauty corrupted, of light twisted into darkness, and of a wound that forever scarred the heavens. The heavens in eternal splendor. Imagine a realm where peace is not a fleeting moment, but an eternal state, where every note of praise vibrates with divine purpose. Heaven was such a place, a boundless ocean of light where angels moved in perfect harmony. The seraphim, like living flames, burned with fervent love, their voices rising in ceaseless adoration. Holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. Below them, the cherubim stood as guardians of divine mysteries, their wings a shield against any shadow. Archangels like Michael and Gabriel, warriors of divine will, carried God's messages with courage, while angels closest to humanity watched over mortal souls with tender care. At the pinnacle of this celestial order stood Lucifer, the morning star. Ezekiel 28:14 declares, "You were anointed as a guardian cherub, for so I ordained you. You walked among the fiery stones." His beauty was not merely physical, it was a radiance that captivated hearts. His wisdom, second only to God's, wove insights that inspired awe. His voice, leading the heavenly choirs, was a melody that stirred the stars, a flame that warmed the coldest reaches of the cosmos. Angels gathered around him, drawn by his charisma, his grace a beacon in heaven's light. Even Michael, the steadfast warrior, looked upon him with admiration, whispering, "There is none like Lucifer." Yet perfection held a hidden flaw. Ezekiel 28:15 whispers a chilling truth. "You were blameless in your ways till wickedness was found in you." In the depths of Lucifer's heart, a seed of pride took root, subtle at first, like a crack in a flawless diamond. He began to gaze not at God's glory, but at his own reflection, marveling at the light that seemed to shine from within. "Why must my brilliance serve another?" he wondered in the quiet of his soul. These thoughts, fleeting at first, grew like a storm gathering on the horizon, threatening to engulf the peace of heaven. The shadow of pride. The change in Lucifer was subtle, a dimming of his inner light that only the keenest could sense. Once the first to raise his voice in praise, he grew distant, his songs faltering. His eyes, once bright with devotion, now held a flicker of restlessness. Gabriel, the messenger of God, noticed the shift and approached him one day under heaven's radiant canopy. "Brother, your light trembles," Gabriel said, his voice heavy with concern. "What weighs upon your heart?" Lucifer's smile was enigmatic, his gaze distant. "Some truths are beyond even our grasp, dear Gabriel," he replied, turning away. A chill passed through Gabriel, as if a shadow had brushed against his wings. Lucifer's duties, once a joy, became burdens. He lingered in solitude, his thoughts consumed by visions of a throne above the stars. Isaiah 14:13 captures his growing ambition. I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. Pride, that silent venom, seeped into his soul, turning his wisdom into a weapon of self-admiration. Ezekiel 28:17 mourns, your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. The beauty that once reflected God's glory now became a mirror for his own desires, a flame that burned for himself alone. In heaven's gatherings, Lucifer's presence grew heavy. The angels, once united in harmony, felt a tension they could not name. He began to whisper to others, his voice soft but piercing, planting seeds of doubt. Are we not beings of light? He asked a group of cherubim, his words dripping with charm. Why should our brilliance be tethered to another's will? Some listened, their hearts swaying under his spell. Others turned away, their wings trembling with unease. The heavens, once a symphony of unity, began to hum with discord. God's loving call. God, the all-seeing creator, saw the shadow growing in his beloved creation. In a moment of sacred stillness, he summoned Lucifer to God's loving call. God, the all-seeing creator, saw the shadow growing in his beloved creation. In a moment of sacred stillness, he summoned Lucifer to his presence. My son, he said, his voice a river of love and sorrow, your thoughts wander from me. The light I gave you is my gift, not your own. Turn back, and your splendor will shine in truth. Lucifer bowed, his face serene, but within, a fire of defiance flickered. Father, have I not served you faithfully? He replied, his words smooth but tinged with rebellion. My questions seek only to understand your will. God's eyes, filled with infinite tenderness, saw the pride Lucifer could not yet confess. Beware, my son, he warned, his voice a gentle thunder. Pride blinds even the wisest. All light flows from me. Lucifer withdrew, his heart torn between loyalty and ambition. In his mercy, God delayed a great revelation that would test every angel's soul, giving Lucifer time to seek humility. Again, he called to him, his voice a beacon in the gathering dark. A trial approaches, Lucifer. Root yourself in obedience, for the storm will be fierce. Lucifer knelt, vowing fidelity. But the seed of pride whispered, am I not worthy of more? His presence. My son, he said, his voice a river of love and sorrow, your thoughts wander from me. The light I gave you is my gift, not your own. Turn back, and your splendor will shine in truth. Lucifer bowed, his face serene, but within, a fire of defiance flickered. Father, have I not served you faithfully? He replied, his words smooth but tinged with rebellion. My questions seek only to understand your will. God's eyes, filled with infinite tenderness, saw the pride Lucifer could not yet confess. Beware, my son, he warned, his voice a gentle thunder. Pride blinds even the wisest. All light flows from me. Lucifer withdrew, his heart torn between loyalty and ambition. In his mercy, God delayed a great revelation that would test every angel's soul, giving Lucifer time to seek humility. Again, he called to him, his voice a beacon in the gathering dark. A trial approaches, Lucifer. Root yourself in obedience, for the storm will be fierce. Lucifer knelt, vowing fidelity, but the seed of pride whispered, am I not worthy of more? The day of revelation could no longer be postponed. Heaven gathered in a radiant assembly, the firmament pulsing with anticipation. God's presence shone with unmatched majesty, his voice like thunder softened by love. I will create a material universe, he proclaimed, unveiling a vision of galaxies swirling in cosmic dance, stars blazing with divine fire, and a blue planet Earth teeming with life. The angels marveled, their hearts swelling with joy at the Creator's boundless creativity. Seraphim sang, cherubim bowed, and even the stars seemed to hum in reverence. But God's words deepened, piercing the heavens with a mystery beyond comprehension. On this earth I will create beings in my image, humans, of flesh and spirit. And I, the second person of the Trinity, will become one of them, taking human form as Jesus Christ. You shall worship me in this humble flesh. The angels gasped, their voices rising in awe. To see God's Son in human form, fragile yet divine, was a love so profound it shook the foundations of heaven. They fell to their knees, their songs a torrent of adoration for a creator who would humble himself for his creation. Yet one figure stood apart, his face a mask of stone. Lucifer's heart churned with rage and disbelief. The thought of bowing to a human, a creature of dust, was an affront to his pride. "Why should I, the morning star, kneel to flesh?" he seethed. Worse still, God revealed that humans would falter. Yet he would sacrifice himself for their redemption through a crucifixion, a vision of blood, and agony that tore at Lucifer's soul. "These frail beings will betray him, yet he chooses them over me," he thought, his heart a cauldron of bitterness. As the angels knelt in worship, Lucifer stood defiant, his silence a thunderclap in heaven's harmony. "No," he declared, his voice cold as the void. God's gaze met his, filled with sorrow but unyielding. "No," Lucifer repeated, his words a blade slicing through the sacred stillness. Turning to his brothers, he spoke with a charisma that chilled and captivated. "Why should we beings of light bow to a mortal form? This is not glory but humiliation. God asks us to forsake our dignity." His words, sharp as a serpent's fang, pierced the hearts of many. Is this truly God's will, or has he lost his way? He challenged, his voice a siren's call. Angels who had once sung in unison now whispered among themselves, some swayed by his logic, others trembling with fear. Lucifer's army grew, not with lies, but with a twisted truth that fed their pride. Cherubim and seraphim, dazzled by his brilliance, pledged their loyalty, their light dimming as they followed him into shadow. Heaven's harmony cracked, and the first notes of rebellion echoed through the firmament. As Lucifer's rebellion gathered strength, a small but resolute voice cut through the growing darkness. "Who is like God?" The cry came from Michael, a lowly archangel whose purity and faith shone with unyielding strength. His words, simple yet profound, were a sword of truth, slicing through Lucifer's seductive rhetoric. In 3 words, Michael reaffirmed the heart of heaven's order. No one, not even the morning star, could rival the Creator. The angels trembled, many awakened from the haze of doubt. Michael's cry was not a challenge but a reminder, a call to return to the truth of their existence. Michael stepped forward, small in stature but towering in courage. "You are arrogant, Lucifer," he said, his voice steady as thunder. "Your light has become a shadow, seeking to eclipse the Creator. You place yourself above God, but you are nothing without him." His words struck Lucifer like a blade, exposing the pride that had consumed him. Lucifer's gaze burned with fury and surprise. How dare this lesser archangel challenge him, the brightest of all? "You understand nothing," he retorted, his voice laced with bitterness. "What God asks is humiliation. I, the first in his glory, will not kneel to something so low." But Michael stood firm, his faith unshaken. "This is not humiliation, Lucifer, but love. God becomes flesh for us, and you reject him because you cannot bear to be lesser. You've forgotten that your light is his gift, not your own." The confrontation was electric, a clash of wills, pride versus humility, rebellion versus loyalty. Michael's words pierced Lucifer's heart, wounding his ego. The truth in them burned, a mirror reflecting the shadow he had become. Enraged yet shaken, Lucifer turned away, his heart a furnace of rage and shame. Alone, he wept not in sorrow, but in fury, tormented by the faint echo of truth in Michael's cry. The angels watched, some rallying to Michael, others drawn deeper into Lucifer's vision. The firmament trembled, the harmony of heaven fractured by the growing divide. Michael, though small, became a beacon of faith. His cry, "Who is like God?" echoing through the heavens, awakening those who still wavered. The heavens, once a sanctuary of peace, became a battlefield of cosmic proportions. The rebellion erupted with a fury that shook the foundations of creation. Lucifer's army, their radiant beauty, now cloaked in shadow, faced Michael and the faithful angels, whose strength was rooted in love for their Creator. Swords of light clashed, sending sparks like shooting stars across the firmament. Thunder roared as the armies collided, a symphony of chaos where harmony once reigned. The war was not of flesh but of spirit, a clash of wills that tore at the fabric of paradise. Michael, though lesser in rank, led with unwavering resolve. His cry, "Who is like God?" echoed through the heavens, a rallying call for the faithful. His strength was not in power, but in faith, a quiet determination that multiplied with every blow. The loyal angels fought with serene conviction, their blades gleaming with the truth of their cause. The fallen angels, once the most beautiful in heaven, fought with ferocious intensity, their beauty transformed into weapons of rebellion. Their light, once pure, now flickered with defiance, a distorted echo of their former glory. The battlefield was a spectacle of light and shadow, a dance of divine forces that illuminated the cosmos with flashes of celestial fire. Lucifer, now a shadow of his former self, rose above the fray, his wings casting darkness over those who gazed upon him. "I am the true light," he roared, but his words rang hollow, a distorted echo of his once pure voice. His power was formidable, his presence terrifying, yet it lacked the divine spark that had once defined him. Michael faced him, undaunted, his sword raised high. "By God's power, fall, Lucifer," he declared, his voice resonating with divine authority. The clash between them was cataclysmic, a confrontation that shook the heavens. Michael's faith, rooted in humility, proved stronger than Lucifer's pride. The tide turned, and the rebellion began to crumble. Lucifer and his followers, a third of heaven's hosts, were cast out, plummeting like stars into the abyss. The heavens fell silent, bearing the weight of an irreparable loss. The expulsion was a moment of cosmic sorrow, a wound that scarred the heart of paradise. Lucifer, once the morning star, and his rebel army fell like meteors, banished from the light of heaven. The firmament trembled as they were hurled into a desolate abyss, a realm of chaos and shadow far from God's glory. For Lucifer, now transformed into Satan, the separation was a wound deeper than any physical pain. Cut off from the Creator, from the light and peace that had been his home, he was left in a state of spiritual desolation, a darkness that burned his being. The underworld, where he and his followers were confined, was not yet the final hell, but a place of utter isolation, a shattered dream devoid of holiness. Heaven, though victorious, was forever changed. The perfect order was broken, the harmony fractured. The angels who remained felt the weight of loss, a silent grief for their fallen brethren. The expulsion was not merely punishment, but an act of divine justice. Those who had rejected God's love could no longer dwell in his presence. Yet even in this act, God's mercy lingered. He allowed the fallen their freedom, albeit in a darkness of their own choosing. The faithful angels mourned, their hearts heavy with the tragedy of betrayal. The seraphim's songs grew solemn, the cherubim's gazes turned inward, and Michael, though victorious, bore the weight of the war's cost. Heaven's light returned, but it was tinged with sorrow, a reminder that even paradise could be scarred. In the abyss, Satan's pride burned brighter than ever. Stripped of heaven's glory, his heart turned to vengeance. If he could not have God's throne, he would destroy his most precious creation, humanity. Humans, made in God's image, were the recipients of the love and honor he believed he deserved. Their existence was an affront, their divine favor a wound to his pride. In his twisted mind, a mission took shape, to corrupt what God cherished, to drag humanity into the same darkness that now consumed him. Every human soul became a battleground, a stage for his rebellion against the Creator. Satan's hatred was not aimless but calculated, a relentless campaign to sabotage God's work. By tempting humanity, he sought to strike at the heart of the Creator, to prove that even God's beloved could be turned against him. The material world, God's new creation, became the arena for his war, a place where he would wield his cunning to unravel the divine plan. His vow was not spoken aloud but burned in his heart. If I cannot have heaven, no one shall. Humanity, with its fragile flesh and free will, became his target, the battlefield where he would wage his revenge. The demons who followed him, once radiant angels, shared his mission, their bitterness into a force to corrupt, tempt, and destroy. Evil, born in the abyss of Lucifer's rebellion, became an active power, a shadow seeking to darken God's light. Satan's influence began in the Garden of Eden, where he took the form of a serpent, cunning and deceptively smooth. Genesis chapter 3 verse records his first strike. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? With a single question, he planted a seed of doubt in Eve's heart, and transforming her innocent desire into a rebellion. Genesis chapter 3 verse continues, "You will be like God, knowing good and evil." The promise of divinity without obedience was irresistible, and Adam and Eve fell, bringing sin into the world. This was his first victory, a wound inflicted on God's creation that echoed his own rebellion. The serpent's whisper was not a roar but a subtle poison, a tactic that defined his approach. In the story of Job, Satan's malice took another form. Job chapter 9 captures his challenge to God. Does Job fear God for nothing? He sought to prove that faith was shallow, sustained only by blessings. He inflicted pain and loss on Job, testing the limits of his devotion. Satan's goal was not merely to harm Job, but to undermine the very nature of faith, to show God that even his most righteous servant would curse him in suffering. Yet Job's endurance, though marked by anguish, stood as a testament to the strength of true devotion, a defeat for Satan's schemes. Job's faith, battered but unbroken, proved that love for God could withstand even the darkest trials. In the desert, Satan dared to tempt Jesus himself. Matthew chapter 4 verses 3-9 recounts his offers: bread from stones, divine protection, and all the kingdoms of the world in exchange for worship. Each temptation was a calculated bid to divert Jesus from his mission, to lure him with power and glory. Satan's audacity was staggering, yet his tactics were familiar: doubt, pride, disobedience. But Jesus' unwavering faith and obedience shattered Satan's illusions. "Away from me, Satan," Jesus declared, quoting scripture and affirming his devotion to the Father. This victory was a definitive blow, proving that divine love triumphs over even the most cunning lures. Satan's strategy, though ancient, remains potent, sow doubt, ignite pride, and encourage rebellion. Every temptation is an echo of his own fall, a whisper urging humanity to reject God's will. Satan's influence persists through history, a constant shadow in human life. He tempts not only through grand gestures but through subtle whispers, exploiting moments of weakness, doubt, and desire. His goal is not merely to cause sin but to separate humanity from God, to replicate his own exile in every soul. Yet each story of resistance, Eve's fall, Job's endurance, Jesus' triumph, shows that faith can overcome his schemes. Satan's power is real but limited, his influence a shadow against the light of divine love. The human heart, though frail, is a battleground where God's grace prevails, offering redemption to those who seek it. In the book of Revelation, Satan's ultimate fate is unveiled, a final chapter in his rebellion. Revelation chapter 12 verse 9 identifies him as the great dragon, that ancient serpent, called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. His transformation from morning star to dragon is complete, his role as the adversary cemented. His rebellion reaches its climax as he seeks to corrupt creation until the very end. Through the beast and the false prophet, he builds a counterfeit kingdom, a twisted mockery of God's reign, aiming to usurp the worship he has always craved. This kingdom is a lie, a distortion of divine truth, designed to deceive humanity and defy God. The final battle is cataclysmic, a cosmic clash that echoes the war in heaven. Michael once again stands against Satan, leading the heavenly armies in a conflict that shakes the foundations of existence. The dragon's fury is unmatched, his power terrifying, yet it is no match for divine justice. Revelation chapter 20 verse 10 seals his doom, and the devil, who deceived them, was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur. This eternal punishment marks the end of his power, a final act of divine justice that separates him forever from God's glory. The lake of fire is not merely a place, but a state of absolute separation, a fitting end for one who rejected the source of all light. Revelation is not merely a prophecy of defeat, but a promise of restoration. Good triumphs not through force alone, but through the essence of God's love, truth, and justice. Satan's fall, from morning star to dragon, is a stark reminder that evil, though fierce, is finite. God's light is eternal, an unbreakable force that no darkness can overcome. The final battle is a testament to the Creator's sovereignty, a reassurance that his plan will prevail. Humanity, though tested, is offered redemption, a path back to the light through faith and love. Satan's defeat is not just his end, but a victory for all creation, a restoration of the harmony lost in heaven's war. Lucifer's journey from heaven's brightest star to the Prince of Darkness is a profound cautionary tale, a story etched in the fabric of creation. His pride, once a mere spark, became a fire that consumed his light, proving that even the greatest can fall when love is overshadowed by self-worship. His story warns that pride kills love, that self-exaltation leads to self-destruction. Every human heart is a battlefield where Satan's whispers linger, tempting us with doubt, pride, and rebellion. Yet, the story of his fall is also a beacon of hope. Michael's cry, "Who is like God?" echoes through the ages, a reminder that no one rivals the Creator. Good triumphs, not because it is stronger in might, but because it is rooted in the infinite love of God. The battle between light and darkness continues in every soul, but its outcome is certain. Faith, humility, and perseverance are our weapons, drawing us closer to the divine. Satan's defeat in Revelation assures us that evil's time is limited, and God's light will shine forever. As we face our own temptations, let Michael's question guide us. Who is like God? Let us hold fast to the truth that love, not pride, is the path to eternal glory. Let us seek the Creator's grace in every trial, trusting that His light will lead us home. Heavenly Father, we seek your radiant light in a world shadowed by temptation and doubt. Guide us with your boundless love, that we may walk humbly in your truth. Grant us peace in our hearts, joy in our lives, and the strength to overcome pride and despair. May your grace lead us to a life of serenity and happiness, forever anchored in your eternal glory. Fill our days with the harmony of your presence, that we may live in hope and love, reflecting your light to all. Protect us from the whispers of darkness, and lead us to the eternal peace of your kingdom. Amen.